You're listening to Radioactive on RTE Choice, a project for the Fringe Festival in Dublin in collaboration with RTE Choice. I'm Leanne Bell. Each weekday of the festival, one of 10 different artists spends the day working with our producer Ronan Kelly in a vacant shop in Temple Bar to make a short piece of radio. Today's artist is Veronica, a theatre maker and installation artist with a particular interest in sound-based art. And she's here to tell us a little bit about the background to her piece.
Okay, I was living in London and I got a phone call from my aunt telling me that my grandmother, who'd been dead for 3 years, was on The View the night before, and David Norris had been talking about her. So I knew it was a kind of a quirky thing to happen, and the exhibition that David Norris was reviewing was called Recent Finds by Sean Lynch, and his idea was to take the kind of fragments from history to make a new kind of history. My grandmother was mentioned in the piece. She was mentioned in the exhibition, and then she was mentioned by David Norris on the View reviewing it. And it was a kind of a legendary story anyway, my grandmother going in to see Elizabeth Taylor in the Gresham.
Can you tell us what the piece is called?
The piece is called Vera, Veronica. There's a little boy with a bicycle, and he doesn't really know what's going on. He's looking around, and there's other people.
Elizabeth Taylor, and she sails out into a Rolls Royce, and there is Veronica McGrath, North South Road, with her husband sitting on the seat all day.
Now on the gallery of photography in Dublin, Recent Finds is the next.
So I was upstairs in my bath one, I think it was a Monday night.
The show looks at a range of almost forgotten historical subjects. One of them, Views of Dublin, is comprised.
I was minding my own business.
Accompanying publication, in which Lynch traces a series of events during and after the making of the movie Inspired.
With my television in my room, because I like the view sometimes, and it doesn't matter if I can't see it, I can hear it.
In 1965, a replica of the Berlin Wall was constructed in Smithfield Market in Dublin, and Liz Taylor and Richard Burton, the real ones, were installed in the Gresham Hotel for 10 weeks.
And I have the telly on down low, and I hear Veronica McGrath, David Norris.
And there is Veronica McGrath, North South Road, and her husband sitting
I don't know his name in my head. And then I heard him saying.
And there is Veronica McGrath, North Circle Road, neglecting her husband's dinner and all to see their cure all day.
He was at something or other someone else had done, and there was pictures in newspapers from that time, and it was all about, and he started saying it all.
Into a Rolls Royce, and there is Veronica McGrath, North Circle Road, neglecting her husband's dinner and all to see their
Granny Vera round and happy fed us up and changed our
Granny
nappies.
Vera, round and happy, fed us up and changed our nappies.
Granny Vera round and happy fed us up and changed our nappies.
Granny Vera, round and happy, fed us up and changed our nappies. Granny Vera, round and happy, fed us up and changed our nappies. Granny Vera, round and happy, fed us up and changed our nappies. Granny Vera, round and happy, fed us up and changed our nappies.
That's lovely.
That's Granny Vera.
Well.
And that was
who's
coming.
this?
That's me.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, how lovely.
That was us coming from the pictures, because she's written on the back in her
And
in her
she's a
hand.
very glamorous lady, isn't she?
Modelled on Elizabeth Taylor, yeah, which is why
Yes.
she stood outside the Gresham. It's 1965. We're on O'Connell Street, standing outside the Gresham Hotel. There's a crowd of people. There's a little boy with a bicycle, and he doesn't really know what's going on. He's looking around, and there's other people standing there. There's a woman called Veronica McGrath, and she's got a scarf on her head, and under the scarf she has a comb stuck in her hair because she hasn't combed it properly. But she's got really bright red lipstick on, and she's got earrings and nice jewellery, and she is quite glamorous, but she's a little bit tired looking, and she's holding an empty shopping bag.
There's nothing left for me of days that used to be. I live in memory.
Smiled always as she called through the door to the back garden straight onto the
Smiled always as she called through the door, through the back garden, straight onto the kitchen floor.
Smiled
always as she called through the door, through the back garden, straight onto the kitchen floor.
And I was sent by The View So I went round, I think it was a photographic gallery in Temple Bar, and there was this exhibition, black and white pictures, which also is lovely because it's the kind of photographic equivalent of film noir. And then this contrast with Elizabeth Taylor, and she sails out, she had $150,000 worth of jewelry.
The jewellery is mostly gold, none of it matches. She's got different rings with different coloured stones in it. She's got a red ruby stone in one of them, and she has a black stone in another. But she's literally got rings on all her fingers, her little fingers and everything. She has a charm bracelet on her wrist. That's silver.
So she said, I'll go off into town, Paddy, and I'll see Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. They used to think they were them.
She looks like Elizabeth Taylor.
She modelled herself on Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, Dad was a bit of a Richard Burton figure as well.
She looks like Elizabeth Taylor. She would have looked like Elizabeth Taylor had she had that life, and had she not been otherwise occupied by 5 children, about to have 6.
Lift off the stew pot with big strong arms.
Lift off the stew pot with big strong arms.
Glittering fingers, bracelets and charms.
Glittering fingers, bracelets and charms.
I listened to it all. I stayed real quiet. I didn't make any splashes of bubble. I stayed real quiet and I listened to it.
And there is Veronica McGrath, North Circle Road, and next her husband's dinner of the Gresham.
It's good I remember that.
I don't know if I remember this or not, if it's a false memory, but I remember hearing it and running in to see. I was doing something. I think I might be in the toilet beside the kitchen and hearing David Norris saying my man's name and then running in.
And then we both looked at it again, and then I saw it. And we fell around the place. My mum was 3 years dead. Dead she was.
Her mind is on Elizabeth Taylor coming out the door, and her mind is on her youth and the days when she used to tuck her skirt into her knickers to cycle to and from work when she was a young girl. And it's on, I suppose it's on Paddy, her Richard Burton, and I suppose the dreams they had when they were young and starting off together. Her mind is very far away from what it usually is on, which is looking after her children.
I remember the story, but I don't remember. When was that?
1965.
Sure, it would have been only 2.
So he said, I have to go to work, Verge, at 2 o'clock. 2 to 10, 6 to 2.
But you remember my dad telling me more, like when he turned up in work and all the fellas saying he got no dinner because they saw in the paper.
And she never came back. She went off with her scarf on her head and she never did come back because she stood outside the Gresham for hours.
And wasn't she right? Wasn't it much better that she was out looking at Elizabeth Taylor and enjoying the moment? And would anybody have been talking about her on the electric wireless if she'd stayed at home and cooked the dinner? But there she became a star herself for that brief moment on radio and television.
There's nothing left for me of days that used to be. I live in memory among my souvenirs.
Speak to us not like a child, sweet Caledonian, stern on mild.
Sweet Caledonian, stern on mild.
Caledonian stern on mild.
Weep not for me, but for my little child.
Holding her head like that.
Among my
That was Veronica Dias's radio piece, Vera, Veronica. You've been listening to Radioactive, a joint project for the Dublin Fringe Festival and RTE Choice. You can listen to all the 10 short pieces as they get made during the festival at rte.ie/choice or at fringefest.com, where you can also find out more about what else is on at the festival.